Stop scrolling. Give me the next few minutes, and I will challenge the way you see your own life. Because what I am about to say is not comfortable. It is not soft motivation. It is not the kind of speech that makes you feel good for 5 minutes and then disappear back into distraction. This is different. By the end of this video, you are going to realize one of two things. Either you have been massively underestimating yourself, or you have been lying to yourself. And I do not say that to attack you. I say it because most people never hear the truth directly. They are told to relax, to be realistic, to lower expectations, to wait their turn, and slowly, without even noticing, they shrink. But something inside you knows you are capable of more. That quiet voice that shows up late at night, that frustration when you see someone else winning, that uncomfortable feeling that you are meant for something bigger, that voice is not delusion, it is potential. The problem is not that you lack ability. The problem is that no one has forced you to confront it. In the next few minutes, we are going to strip away excuses. We are going to question your habits. We are going to expose the comfort that is quietly stealing your future. And if you stay until the end, you will not walk away entertained. You will walk away aware. And awareness is dangerous. Because once you see clearly, you cannot go back to playing small. So do not watch this casually. Listen carefully. Because this might be the moment you stop being a spectator of your life and start taking control of it. Let's talk about something uncomfortable. Comfort. Not the kind that comes from safety or stability. I'm talking about the kind that slowly seduces you into mediocrity. The kind that feels harmless in the moment but compounds into regret over years. We are living in the most advanced period in human history. That's not motivational hype. That's a fact. You carry in your pocket more computational power than entire governments had a few decades ago. You can access the world's knowledge in seconds. You can build a business from your bedroom. You can learn any skill online. You can reach millions of people without asking anyone for permission. Objectively, the barrier to entry has never been lower. And yet, the barrier to action has never felt higher. Why? Because comfort is more available than ever before. You don't have to be bored. You don't have to be alone with your thoughts. You don't have to struggle for entertainment. At any moment, you can escape into distraction. Endless videos, endless scrolling, endless stimulation. Your brain is being trained to choose easy rewards over meaningful progress. Psychologically, this is powerful. The human brain is wired for efficiency. It seeks pleasure and avoids pain. In the past, that wiring helped us survive. Today, it keeps us average. You don't need to hunt for food. You don't need to build shelter. You don't need to fight for survival. So your brain looks for the next easiest source of dopamine. And the modern world supplies it instantly. But here's the philosophical problem. A meaningful life is built on voluntary hardship. Growth is painful. Discipline is uncomfortable. Mastery is frustrating. Building something valuable requires long periods where you see no results. Comfort removes the friction that produces greatness. Think about it. Every breakthrough in human progress came from someone choosing discomfort. Someone working longer than required. Someone risking reputation. Someone tolerating uncertainty. Someone being misunderstood. Progress is not born in comfort. It is born in tension. And most people are allergic to tension. They say they want success. They say they want freedom. They say they want impact. But what they really want is the reward without the discomfort that creates it. That is a psychological contradiction. You cannot demand extraordinary results while negotiating with ordinary habits. Comfort convinces you that tomorrow is guaranteed. It tells you that you have time. It whispers, start next week. It makes average feel acceptable because everyone around you is also choosing average. And this is where it becomes dangerous. Comfort is socially validated. If you relax, no one criticizes you. If you delay your dream, no one protests. If you settle for less than your potential, society calls it being realistic. But realism has become a disguise for fear. The world doesn't need more realistic people. It needs people who are willing to test the limits of what's possible. Here's the brutal truth. Your potential does not disappear dramatically. It erodes quietly. It erodes every time you choose distraction over development. Every time you avoid a difficult conversation. Every time you stay silent about an idea because you're afraid of being judged. Every time you tell yourself, this is good enough. Comfort doesn't destroy you in one dramatic moment. It numbs you over time. And numb people don't build extraordinary things. Let's analyze this rationally. If you repeat small, comfortable decisions daily, what happens over 5 years? Over 10. Compounding works in both directions. Small, disciplined actions compound into mastery. Small, comfortable choices compound into regret. The math is simple. The execution is hard, because choosing discomfort means confronting your limits. It means admitting you are not as skilled as you could be. It means facing your weaknesses. It means accepting that your current results reflect your current standards. And that realization can hurt, but pain is information. If you go to the gym and feel resistance, that resistance is the signal that growth is happening. The same is true mentally and professionally. Resistance means you are stretching your capacity. Comfort, on the other hand, provides no signal. It keeps you exactly where you are. You have to ask yourself a serious question. Are you optimizing for short-term comfort or long-term capability? Those are not the same goal. Short-term comfort feels good today. Long-term capability feels powerful for decades. The most dangerous mindset is believing that you can switch into greatness later. That one day you'll suddenly become disciplined. That when the right time comes, you'll rise to the occasion. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. If your daily system is built around comfort, distraction, and low standards, then under pressure, that is exactly who you will be. The future is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in quiet daily decisions. This is why comfort is so expensive. It costs you the person you could have become. And here's something even more important. In a rapidly evolving world, standing still is not neutral. It is regression. Technology is accelerating, industries are transforming, skills are becoming obsolete faster than ever. If you choose comfort while the world chooses acceleration, you will not remain stable. You will fall behind, not because you lack intelligence, but because you lacked urgency. Comfort makes you passive in a world that rewards proactive builders. And the market does not reward comfort, it rewards value. It rewards innovation, it rewards those who solve difficult problems. Solving difficult problems requires discomfort. There is no shortcut around that. So the real question becomes this: what kind of discomfort are you willing to tolerate? The discomfort of discipline, or the discomfort of regret, the discomfort of growth, or the discomfort of knowing you played small? One leads to expansion, the other leads to explanation. And at some point in your life, explanations stop being satisfying. You don't want to look back and say, I could have. You want to look back and say, I did. Comfort will always be available. It will always invite you. It will always feel reasonable. But if you want to build something meaningful, if you want to lead, if you want to create impact, you must develop a higher tolerance for discomfort than the average person. That is the separating factor, not luck, not background, not talent, standards. Raise your standards above comfort. Because the moment you choose growth over ease, you shift your trajectory. And here's the closing thought: I want you to sit with comfort, feels safe today, but it quietly steals your tomorrow. Now let's move into something even more confronting: execution. Because once you understand that comfort is the enemy of growth, the next logical question becomes simple. What actually separates the people who build extraordinary things from those who only talk about them? It is not intelligence. It is not background. It is not even creativity. It is execution. We live in a world where ideas are everywhere. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has a plan. Everyone says they are working on something. But very few people are willing to go through the brutal, repetitive, often boring process of turning an idea into reality. Execution is not glamorous, it is systematic, it is disciplined. It is often invisible. Psychologically, the brain loves ideas because ideas feel like progress. When you talk about a big vision, your brain releases dopamine. You feel intelligent. You feel ambitious. You feel ahead. But nothing has actually changed in the real world. Execution is different. Execution forces you to confront reality. It exposes flaws in your thinking. It reveals gaps in your skill set. It demands energy when you do not feel motivated. And most people quit right there, not because they lack potential, but because they lack tolerance for friction. Execution is friction. It is sending the proposal even when you are unsure. It is launching the product before it feels perfect. It is studying when others are sleeping. It is practicing when no one is watching. Philosophically, execution is the bridge between imagination and impact. Without it, your ideas are just intellectual entertainment. The marketplace does not reward intention, it rewards output. Think about it logically. If two people have the same idea, but one acts and the other hesitates, who wins? The one who executes learns faster. They gather real-world feedback, they iterate, they improve. The one who waits keeps polishing a theory that has never been tested. Execution accelerates learning, and learning compounds. This is where discipline enters the conversation. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation depends on mood. Discipline depends on standards. If you rely on motivation, you will work when you feel inspired. That means your productivity fluctuates with your emotions. That is unstable. If you rely on discipline, you work because it is scheduled. You work because it aligns with your long-term identity. You work because it is part of your system. Execution thrives on systems. A system removes decision fatigue. It removes the daily negotiation with yourself. You do not ask, do I feel like doing this? You ask, is this aligned with the system I committed to? High performers reduce the number of emotional decisions they make. They design routines that produce results. This is not about grinding endlessly. It is about precision, it is about focusing on high leverage actions. It is about identifying the few activities that create disproportionate impact. Execution is strategic. It is not random hustle. It is deliberate progress. Let's go deeper. Why do people avoid execution? Because execution risks failure. When an idea stays in your head, it is perfect. It is protected. No one can criticize it. The moment you act, you expose yourself to judgment. You risk being wrong. You risk looking inexperienced. Ego hates that. But growth requires it. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a component of it. Every failed attempt contains data. Data about timing. Data about audience. Data about your skill level. Data about what does not work. If you treat failure emotionally, you quit. If you treat failure analytically, you improve. That mindset shift changes everything. Execution-oriented people detach their identity from outcomes. They see outcomes as experiments. If something fails, they adjust variables. They do not collapse psychologically. This is intellectual resilience. You cannot build something meaningful if every setback feels like a personal attack. Execution demands emotional stability. And here is another critical element. Speed matters. In a rapidly evolving world, the ability to execute quickly is a competitive advantage. Speed does not mean recklessness. It means reducing unnecessary hesitation. It means making decisions with incomplete information and refining along the way. Perfectionism is often disguised fear. You tell yourself you are waiting for the right moment or improving the details. In reality, you are avoiding exposure. Execution requires courage more than intelligence. Courage to publish, courage to pitch, courage to invest, courage to say, "This is what I believe," and stand behind it. Once you start executing consistently, something interesting happens. Your confidence stops being theoretical. It becomes evidence-based. You do not believe you are capable because you read a motivational quote. You believe you are capable because you have proof. You have completed difficult tasks. You have survived setbacks. You have built momentum. Momentum is powerful. Small wins create psychological reinforcement. They strengthen your identity as someone who acts. An identity drives behavior. If you see yourself as someone who tries, you will hesitate. If you see yourself as someone who executes, you will move. Execution reshapes identity, and identity reshapes destiny. The difference between average and exceptional is often just consistency over time, not intensity for a week, consistency for years. Most people overestimate what they can do in a month and underestimate what they can do in 5 years of disciplined execution. Compounding does not care about your emotions. It responds to repetition. If you write every day, you become a writer. If you build every day, you become a builder. If you solve problems every day, you become valuable. It is that simple, not easy, but simple. Execution also clarifies vision. Many people are stuck because they are waiting to discover their purpose. Purpose is not found in isolation. It emerges through action. When you execute, you gather information about what energizes you, what frustrates you, what you are naturally good at. Action reveals direction. Stillness breeds confusion. If you want clarity, move. If you want opportunity, create value. If you want influence, build something useful. At the end of the day, the world does not measure your potential. It measures your contribution. And contribution requires execution. You can read every book, watch every podcast, study every strategy, but until you act, you remain in preparation mode. Preparation feels productive. Execution is productive. There is a difference. The people who shape industries, who create movements, who redefine standards, are not necessarily the most talented in the room. They are the most consistent executors in the room. They close the gap between thinking and doing. And that gap is where most dreams die. So here is the reflection I want you to sit with. Are you addicted to planning, or are you committed to executing? Because in the end, ideas do not change your life. Action does. And the moment you stop talking and start building, you stop being a spectator of possibility and become the architect of reality. Now let's zoom out. We have talked about comfort. We have talked about execution. But none of that exists in isolation. It exists inside a specific moment in history. And this moment is not normal. This era is accelerating at a speed humanity has never experienced before. Entire industries are being rebuilt in a decade. Artificial intelligence is rewriting the nature of work. Automation is replacing predictable tasks. Information is no longer scarce, attention is. The rules are changing in real time. And here is the uncomfortable truth. You do not get to opt out of change. You either evolve with it, or you slowly become irrelevant to it. There is no stable middle ground anymore. For most of history, progress was slow. You could learn one skill in your 20s and rely on it for 40 years. Stability was realistic. Predictability was common. That world is gone. Today, the half-life of skills is shrinking. What is valuable today may be obsolete tomorrow. Entire job categories disappear. New ones emerge that did not exist 5 years ago. This is not a threat. It is an invitation. But only if you see it clearly. The people who win in a rapidly changing world are not the ones who cling to security. They are the ones who build adaptability. They treat learning as a lifelong discipline. They are curious. They experiment. They upgrade themselves continuously. Evolution is no longer biological. It is intellectual. The market rewards those who solve new problems. And new problems require new thinking. If you remain mentally static in a dynamic world, you create friction between who you are and what the world demands. That friction becomes frustration. That frustration becomes resentment. You start blaming technology, blaming the economy, blaming the system. But the system is simply responding to progress. The deeper philosophical question is this: do you see change as a threat to your comfort or as an opportunity for expansion? Because your interpretation determines your trajectory. Some people look at technological advancement and feel fear. They see automation and think, I might be replaced. Others look at the same advancement and think, what can I build with this? Same environment, different mindset, different outcome. Opportunity is rarely obvious at first. It hides inside uncertainty. It requires you to tolerate ambiguity. It requires you to act before everything is fully understood. That is uncomfortable. But remember what we established earlier. Growth requires discomfort. Execution requires courage. This era amplifies both. There has never been a time when an individual could access global markets so easily. You can publish content, build software, start a business, collaborate internationally, all without massive capital. Barriers are falling, but so is patience. The competition is no longer local, it is global, which means average effort is exposed instantly. This is not meant to intimidate you, it is meant to wake you up. Because in a high-leverage world, small advantages compound dramatically. If you commit to learning faster than the average person, you gain leverage. If you commit to adapting faster than the average person, you gain leverage. If you commit to building while others are consuming, you gain leverage. Leverage multiplies impact, and impact defines influence. The next decade will not reward those who simply follow instructions. It will reward those who design systems, those who understand technology, those who can think critically, those who can connect ideas across disciplines. It will reward builders. The question is whether you are preparing to build or preparing to complain. You cannot control macroeconomic shifts. You cannot control technological breakthroughs. You cannot control geopolitical movements, but you can control your response. If you spend your energy resisting change, you drain yourself. If you spend your energy understanding change, you empower yourself. Adaptability is the new security, not a job title, not a degree, not a fixed plan. Your ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn is your real asset. Let's make this practical. If industries are evolving, are you evolving with them? If tools are becoming more powerful, are you learning to use them? If knowledge is abundant, are you consuming it passively or applying it strategically? In a world flooded with information, wisdom becomes rare, and wisdom comes from synthesis, from thinking deeply, from connecting dots others ignore. That requires intention. This era will create extraordinary success stories, not because it is easy, but because it is asymmetric. A small team can outperform massive organizations. An individual can build an audience larger than traditional media networks. A focused creator can out-earn established institutions. Scale has been democratized. But responsibility comes with it. You can no longer say, I did not have access. You have access. The variable now is initiative. An initiative is a decision. You decide whether you are a passive observer of innovation or an active participant in it. You decide whether you consume trends or create them. You decide whether you remain comfortable or become capable. History does not remember those who waited for certainty. It remembers those who acted in uncertainty. Every transformative period in history created two groups, those who adapted and thrived, and those who resisted and faded. This is one of those periods. You may not feel it daily. Change feels gradual until it feels sudden. Then you look back and realize the landscape is completely different. The individuals who prepared early are already positioned. The ones who delayed are scrambling. So ask yourself honestly, if the world doubles in speed over the next 10 years, will you be overwhelmed or will you be equipped? Preparation is not panic, it is strategic awareness. You do not need to master everything, but you must refuse stagnation. Commit to continuous improvement. Commit to intellectual expansion. Commit to building something that aligns with the direction of progress, not against it, because this era is not asking for your permission, it is moving forward regardless. And the most powerful position you can take is not fear, not denial, not hesitation. It is participation. This is your era, not because it is easy, but because the tools are in your hands. And here is the final thought I want to leave you with. In a world that is accelerating, standing still is the fastest way to fall behind, so evolve or watch evolution pass you by.